These tax havens include Jersey, Guernsey, the Isle of Man, Bermuda, Anguilla and the Caymans. The Channel Islands are the oldest tax havens of them all. The charge made against Jersey, which manages around $500 billion in funds, is that it is a stepping-off point onto the worldwide tax haven money-go-round. Once you're on it, it's not that hard to remain one jump ahead of the tax authorities. Jersey-born John Christensen used to work here, but now he bites the hand that feeds tax havens.
Jersey has a huge banking infrastructure, very closely tied to the City of London.
Why? Well, what's the benefit? Why do they want to come here?
Well, there are two key factors. Low tax is one of them, but the second one, this is much more important, is the very secretive environment in which they work. That is, an environment in which clients from around the world can set up elaborate structures. There's possibly a trust based here in Jersey, owning a company based in Luxembourg with a bank account in Switzerland, which is so secretive that investigators from around the world simply cannot penetrate that wall of secrecy.
In a phrase, is Jersey transparent?
In a word, no.
The problem with tax havens, the critics say, is not just that you can hide money from the taxman. They say you can hide anything from anybody. Assets, liabilities, toxic debt. Now, the classic example of this led to a national scandal which cost the British taxpayer billions of pounds. So what connects this building in Jersey with a bank in the northeast? Good question.
Confidence in Northern Rock drained away today. At 5 in the morning, queues had begun forming outside some branches. Older people, intent on withdrawing their life savings, brought chairs.
Come the credit crunch, Northern Rock went bang. The Bank of England had to bail it out. It was then that another financial entity came to light, Granite, registered at this law firm in Jersey. Critics charged that Granite was all about moving problems that would have alarmed the regulator onshore, offshore. Northern Rock was so keen to expand its mortgage business that it repackaged its debts as investments and sold them offshore to raise yet more money to lend. They call this securitization.
Granite was just one part of of an entire offshore shadow banking system that has been created in the last 20 years so that banks can operate outside the mainstream regulation.
There's a far keener sense of frustration with the tax haven money-go-round in the United States. One US Senate investigator has wrestled with tax haven trusts the world over.
You begin to try to unwind, disentangle the associations of trusts, companies owned by trusts, subsidiaries, associated foundations. And what you realize is it was intentionally designed this way. It was intentionally designed to make these entities virtually impenetrable.
"83 of the top 100 biggest corporates in the United States, some of which are being bailed out by Uncle Sam, have offshore presence in places like the Caymans. And that grates with one man in particular.
You know, there's a building in the Cayman Islands that supposedly houses 18,000 corporations. Think about that. That's either the biggest building or the biggest tax scam in the world. I think we know which one it is.
Barack Obama's wrath is concentrated on this office block, Ugland House in the Caymans. He's not alone.
Ugland House, why is it? Is there really business being transacted? No, there's shenanigans being transacted. And the shenanigans is that they're hiding their assets and their revenue from their treasuries. That's the shenanigans that's going on. There's no business going on there except monkey business.
Ugland House is owned by law firm Maples & Calder. They say they work within a strong compliance culture to prevent tax evasion, money laundering and securities fraud. And they told us,
it is normal practice worldwide for companies to use law firm offices as registered addresses. We provide this service to our clients, as do other leading law firms, both onshore and offshore.
Ordinary people who pay their taxes may feel cheated by those who hide their money offshore in fancy places. But thus far, the political will to stop it has been weaker than the ingenuity of rich people to carry on cheating. That may be about to change. Now the Rich Countries Club, the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, say they're piling on the heat. The British, the Americans and the Germans don't always agree, but they do about Liechtenstein. We hear that a Liechtenstein royal has cropped up at a banking seminar at the university. There's a do to discuss becoming more open. Finally, I get to pop my question to His Serene Highness, Prince Nikolaus of Liechtenstein. In America, Kiba's lawyer, Jack Blum, says that the Liechtenstein royal family, by aiding and abetting tax evasion, are effectively crooks. So the question is, are you a crook, sir?
It is very clear that every country has its laws. America has quite different tax laws than Liechtenstein. If I evade taxes in Liechtenstein, I have to pay a higher tax, but I have no criminal prosecution. Only if I make tax fraud, that is to say I falsify documents, then I'm also a criminal in Liechtenstein. So we have a difference there.
Rich little Liechtenstein defends its sovereign right to run its financial service industry as it pleases. Its critics say a tiny monarchy should not be allowed to undermine the tax-raising powers of much bigger countries, especially if that means that ordinary taxpayers have to pay more.
We accept that everybody does what he thinks is right in his country. They also have to respect our laws. And there is no international law that asks you to assist other tax administrations to bring in their money. We do it more and more, but there is no law that demands it.
In the affair of Heinrich Kieber, the only person that Liechtenstein authorities are seeking to arrest internationally is Heinrich Kieber.
I mean, he lied before, as we know, as he was convicted. I'm a little bit astonished, by the way, how important his testimony became in the Congress, because he was convicted as a crook. So I would be very cautious on what he says.
The bad news for Kieber is that someone, not the Liechtenstein royals, has put out a $10 million hit on him. He's going to have to spend the rest of his life in hiding from the hitmen and Interpol.
Well, the Treasury has announced a review of tax havens, and it is expected to be published before the budget. Meanwhile, here's that tax evasion hotline number again, 0800 788 887. And don't forget, you can see this story again and the other recent stories we've done on the Panorama website. Next week, out of the ruins, the BBC's Middle East editor Jeremy Bowen travels through a devastated Gaza to ask where Israel's recent Operation Cast Lead now leaves the future of the region.